welcome to this week's episode of The Happiest Hour on Earth. This week we're going to be talking about Disneyland and Disney World and kind of discussing the pros and cons of both so that we can help you as you plan your trip, whether you've been to one or the other before or not. So let's get this going. So tonight we decided to go with some fun snacks. Here we made some Mickey-shaped beignets. So this was a labor of love. It did not go smoothly. These ones were the best of the multiple that we made.
Did we make 6?
Something around there.
3 turned out.
So half
bad.
turned out.
Yeah.
Mickey-shaped, which was the goal.
We didn't think we would get any Mickey-shaped after the first one, so this is pretty impressive.
Yeah,
actually.
it was the best we could do, and the others we decided not to show on the podcast.
Yeah.
Although you can catch a glimpse of them on our reel that we're gonna post on Instagram for the making of these.
Even though even though those 3 turned out bad, one of them did look like Oswald the Rabbit, which was super exciting.
The ears definitely got extended a little further than they were supposed to, so it looked like Oswald.
I think he was the first one we ate. Yeah, it was like, let's move on from Oswald, even though you're amazing. Let's go to Mickey.
Yeah, so
he was delicious.
We just wanted to show you the actual Mickey
good
shape.
ones. The good ones, yeah. So should we show one more time?
Yeah.
Let's see. Just
so they do look like Mickey, which is the goal.
Should we try these before we even talk about the trip?
I'm ready.
I
guess we can do that. Yeah.
Should we do the best looking ones?
Yeah.
All right. So I mean, look at those. Those look pretty good. I'm just saying.
Not bad for our first time. Like, I'm kind of impressed.
Yeah. Okay, ready? I'm going ear.
That's a good idea.
And I wanted to go for the full thing, but it just wouldn't look pretty. Yeah.
And now we're gonna have powdered sugar all over our mouths.
Oh my gosh. Oh man. Those are good.
Mm-hmm. Tastes like a beignet.
Tastes like the ones you get in the park. Sorry, I'm joking. Okay. That was amazing. So
I'm glad that they turned out good after the turmoil that we went through to make these. At least they taste good and they're actually cooked through. There's no dough on the inside.
That is super good. So we used, as you'll see in our reel, we used Café du Monde beignets. And so when you think of beignets, you think Café du Monde. This is a little place in New Orleans that just makes the best beignets ever. And you could actually, I didn't realize, we actually bought them in New Orleans, but you can buy them on Amazon. Comes to your place, and that's just kind of the dough.
Yeah, it's the dough.
That you make it.
You pretty much just add water to it, mix it up. It's very sticky. And then you toss it in some oil.
And when you're doing Mickey, you have to cut it into the Mickey shape, which was really hard for some reason. Because
well, thankfully we had the cookie cutter of Mickey's head. It definitely would have been pretty much impossible if we didn't have that. But it was still really hard because it's just very sticky dough. But it ended up working out. We had to do some trial and error, and then we finally figured out the method to make it work. So we got some Mickey heads.
And it is so good.
And they're good.
We need 10 more of these.
Yeah.
We don't have any more, thankfully, because I would have just indulged in there.
Yeah.
So, drink. So, since we are talking about Disney World and Disneyland, these don't really have to do too much with the episode. And usually you get beignets in New Orleans Square at Disneyland, but you could also get them at Port Orleans Resort and Disney World. So we're like, okay, that could be our Disney World thing for the night. Our drinks are actually from what was previously Cove Bar and is now the Lamplight Lounge. These are the Black Pearl drinks. Kind of lost its color as we were prepping for this episode.
They're still red.
Obviously we haven't tried these yet, so should we go ahead and try?
Yeah.
Boom. Whoa.
Ooh.
Oh man. That is good. Oh man,
I don't know if I ever actually had it at Cove Bar.
Really?
I may not have been 21 when we went.
Oh, back then. Oh my gosh, that's true.
That was a long time ago.
I've had it a couple times there. But I feel like when we went there, when we were over 21.
I got the
fun wheel. Yeah. Well, that's good.
That's really good.
I do have to admit, when we were making these, I think there's like a slight little bit more alcohol than what they call for. Because we use those little tiny bottles, and I didn't want to like fully portion those out. So it might be like an extra ounce.
And there's 3 different types of alcohol, so good luck to us on the rest of this episode.
Yes, we're filming this on a Tuesday, so hopefully Wednesday work will still start off with a cake. We'll see. But this is really good.
It's a great drink, though.
Almost tastes like a Long Island iced tea right now. With blackberry in it.
Yeah, kind of.
It's good. Yeah, I really like this.
So, why don't you get into some news real quick?
Yeah, so next week, everybody, Disneyland is opening, and really exciting news. We have someone, my sister, who's going to be going into the park, not on April 30th. She's going in April 29th for the cast member preview.
Right?
Shout out to her contact there.
Yeah.
I don't know her name, but huge shout out to that. So follow us on Instagram, because if everything goes smoothly, she's going to be taking over our Instagram stories next week. So you guys could be seeing the inside of the park for over a year.
Before it's technically open.
That's going to be so exciting. So maybe we'll even get her on one of the upcoming episodes to just talk about her experience going to the soft opening. So that is super, super exciting.
So exciting.
And talking about the park opening, apparently there are, I know you guys had some major struggles getting those tickets on Friday, but apparently there are a lot of tickets left, a lot of open dates that that you can still get tickets for. So if you didn't score tickets on that day, go online and grab them. They are open apparently. So that is pretty much it with park news, other than we didn't talk about, like, Disney parks are going to be making a super realistic lightsaber, and I don't know if that's for Galaxy's Edge or if that's for the Star Wars themed resort that will be opening in Disney World, which is super, super exciting. But excited to see that in person. So cool. Also, Shang-Chi and the 10 Rings, I think that's what it's called. The trailer dropped. Looks awesome. So great.
Action packed.
Yeah, and I think his name Simu Liu, I think his name is. He's from Kim's Convenience. Love him in that, so it's super exciting to see him in this. But that's pretty much it for Disney news. Yeah.
Here we go.
Should we jump in?
Yeah. So let's get going on tonight's topic. So comparing Disneyland and Disney World is hard because they're both incredible for their own reasons. There's so much to each of them. We kind of figured we would start out with just the overall experience of each. I mean, there's so much to a Disney trip, you know? And I think where we kind of veered was Disneyland is more nostalgic because it's, you know, where Walt started. It was his brainchild, like, after all the movies and everything. He decided he needed to make a theme park, so that there's so much Walt within Disneyland. It's, you know, it's where this whole thing began. Yeah. And to see, like, old photos of him walking through the park and all that nostalgia is really special. So I think that's a very important aspect of Disneyland, and one of the reasons it's always going to be my favorite. I love the history. But, you know, Disney World was kind of where his passion was headed right at the time of his death. That's where he was definitely going to be focusing his attention, I would say, because he kind of ran out of space to expand. Those hotels just popped up. Yeah, right in Disneyland. There was just nowhere to go from there, really. There was that much space he had, and that was it. Once he got land over in Florida, it was like limitless. I mean, he purchased enough to just keep going and going. So I think that's notable. You know, if he had been alive for the opening of Disney World, I think he would have been putting his focus there for sure.
Yeah, and that's something about us. I mean, Disneyland is our home park, and we just went to Disney World in 2018. And I think our mindset prior to that was Disneyland is the original park and
nothing will ever
top it. Yeah, exactly. But after, listening to stories and watching the Imagineering story and everything, like, Walt Disney was so excited about opening Disney World, a place where he could just let his mind run free, all this land to do what he wanted. So there is something about both, where Disneyland, you have that historical aspect to it, the nostalgia, and walking the streets that Walt actually walked on, riding the rides that he was
he worked on himself.
Yes, he was there, and just hands-on experience with all these rides. The story that comes to mind is just, as they were building Pirates of the Caribbean, he took his wife. He would walk down there with all the animatronics and all these things that were all the set pieces and everything, and he would walk these attractions, and you do lose that sense of nostalgia a little bit in Disney World. But Disney World it's so much bigger, so there's so much more to see and do in those parks. So really, experience wise, it really depends on what you're going for, and the feel is totally different. Like Disney World, you're just in awe of how much there is to do there. But Disneyland also, even though it's smaller, has this like, wow, like this was
where it began.
Walt really had so much of a start after those movies. So
exactly.
There's definitely plus sides to both there.
Definitely. I love both. I mean, I am like aching to go back to Disney World because we've only gone that one time, and it was incredible. Like awesome. Way more than I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah.
I mean,
for sure,
it blew my mind. I can't wait to go back. But
and then I mean, like Walt Disney World also has so many different aspects if you're thinking of experience, right? So there's like not only the 4 theme parks that are there, but also the water parks, the 2 water parks that they have over there. So if that is kind of more your thing, there's not really too much of that in Disneyland besides at the resorts. Totally different lands too, right? We have Disneyland and California Adventure here, but there they have an animal-centered park. Different country-centered park, right?
Yeah.
Epcot.
So much variety.
So different. And then there's also like a lot of golfing there too, if you're into that. I know some people like to go to a resort, do some time golfing, doing some theme parks, all that stuff. So there's a lot of different experiences there. Definitely.
And I mean, the rides there's a lot of comparable rides. I mean, there's a lot of rides there that are in both parks, but there's also a lot that are particular to one or the other. You know, there's classics in Disneyland like Indiana Jones that are only there. You know, there's the dinosaur version in Disney World. And then Disney World has Tower of Terror that's no longer in Disneyland. So there's definitely like special rides in both. That's something to take into consideration for sure. Yeah. And then there's also the shows of both. I mean, there's obviously more shows in Disney World because there's 4 parks, not including the water parks. But we only got to see a few shows in Disney World. We saw the fireworks, which was Happily Ever After, right? Yeah, and we got the which was amazing. For that, which was awesome. That was so quite an experience. Really fun. We saw the Festival of the Lion King in Animal Kingdom. And we tried to see Fantasmic one night as well, which was in Hollywood Studios. Yeah. But the lightning and thunder interfered because Florida weather is such that you have to worry about that. But yeah, so there's a lot of incredible shows in Disney World. Disneyland, you've got fireworks, Fantasmic, World of Color. Something they don't have. Yeah. Epcot, I think, has a water show that is. I think it's Illuminations. Yeah. But now they're doing. I don't remember the name of the new one that they're working on, but it's said to be the biggest water spectacular
ever. So I mean, I
So
think
that's
there's
pretty cool.
tons of stuff that they're doing for that. So that'll be really cool.
Yeah, I'm sure that's going to be an awesome show. I'm excited to see that whenever we make our way back.
Yeah.
For
sure.
So shows, I mean, they're incredible in both Disneyland and Disney World. There's just more to pick from, I guess, in Disney World.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as you said, you know, the lightning that we experienced in before Fantasmic, that just made me think about, you know, weather and location. And I think that's a huge part.
That is a big factor in Disney trips because the weather is very different on either side of the coast, right?
And as experience might lean a little more towards Disney World because there's more to do if you're into that thing over, you know, nostalgia and history. The weather is a big factor.
Yeah, California weather, I mean, you can't really beat it.
Can't.
I mean, it can definitely get warm. There's definitely some hot days, especially if you're going right in the heat of summer. But Disney World,
it rains.
Yeah, there's occasional rain.
Not too much.
Yeah, it's. I mean, you can pretty much count on Disneyland weather being prime.
70 degrees.
70s to 80s.
Pretty much 70. Yeah.
But Disney World definitely has a lot more variety. It can be humid and hot, and then suddenly like a torrential rainstorm out of nowhere
in the same day.
Yeah, like maybe
crazy.
Multiple times in the same day.
Yeah.
We actually got pretty lucky in terms of that on our trip. I think we had like maybe 2 rainstorms.
2 flash rainstorms.
Yeah. It was very few. I expected a lot more. But you definitely have to be prepared with like what you're wearing, and if like you want to look cute or something, prepare to get wet. Like that can happen out of nowhere.
To do those pictures before the rain comes down and it just destroys your look.
Yeah. So don't like aim for looking cute all day long. But yeah, I mean, definitely consider the weather when you're planning your trips because very, very different weather on either side of the coast.
Definitely. And as we're talking about weather and location, I feel like Disneyland weather is definitely better than Florida weather, but we also have to think about location, right? So the interesting thing about, I mean, we grew up going to Disneyland, and if you're within the resort, everything is Disney, but you take a step out and you're in Anaheim. Like it feels totally different. It feels like you're just in a normal city.
Yeah.
You know, there's cars driving by, there's hotels, there's restaurants and all that stuff. So the location in Disneyland is nice when you're in the resort. When you're outside of it, though, it kind of breaks that magic. But Disney World, I mean,
it is
if you're staying on
Disney property.
Yeah, if you're staying on property, anywhere you go there feels like you're a part of that experience. So even though weather might not be as great as California, location is really cool because it really, no matter where you go, feels like that Disney experience.
Yeah.
Even though you have to travel a good amount of ways to make it to each theme park.
Yeah. Definitely. It definitely holds the Disney feel wherever you go because there's just miles upon miles of Disney property in Disney World.
For sure.
So that's definitely something to consider. So moving on from that, we wanted to also discuss kind of the adult fun that you can have in Disneyland versus Disney World. That generally means alcohol to us, because obviously you like to drink and enjoy
and fun rides. You know?
Yeah, I guess.
Or like, you know, thrill rides, I guess I would say.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, Disneyland has California Adventure, where there's a couple of bars and little like beer stands, and there's also the wine cellar. I can't think what that's called now, but that's in California Adventure.
I know exactly where it's at.
Yeah.
Right after
Napa Wine Cellar or something? It's something. There's a wine place.
There's a wine place, yeah. So you
can before you enter Pixar Pier.
Because honestly, California wine, you know, might not be as great as Italy's wine, but California does.
There's a lot of great wine,
and they actually bring in some great wine to this place. So
yeah.
You could have your little own wine tasting adventure for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's a lot of fun alcohol experiences to have in California Adventure. Also
And,
in downtown Disney, there's a couple of bars, Trader Sam's, obviously.
Yeah.
And
in Disneyland and Magic Kingdom, right? So you have Disneyland, Magic Kingdom, pretty much the same. Did not allow alcohol for a time, although Be Our Guest was the first place, I believe, to introduce beer and wine into Magic Kingdom. And then now, their Star Wars Land is not even in Magic Kingdom. So now in Disneyland, you have Star Wars Land there, so you can get a little bit of alcohol. Yeah, and then in Disney World, you have Star Wars Land and Hollywood Studios. So there's definitely some fun adulting to be done at Disneyland, but Disney World definitely, like I said, reigns supreme. And talking about adulting, we are hoping to do a full episode on the best places to adult at in Disney parks. Hopefully, if we could figure everything out with Zoom and all that, with our friends in Disney Bars blog. They are amazing. So if you love Disney drinks and Disney alcohol, go follow them on Instagram. Disney Bars blog is absolutely incredible. And we're hoping to get them on the show to do a special segment on just like fun experiences, not even just alcohol, but just fun experiences as an adult in Disney parks. And that will be a really, really great episode.
It's going to be a fun one.
Go follow them. They're amazing. But yeah, adulting, Disney World. I mean,
yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, I mean, Epcot, I think.
Epcot is like, if you want to be an adult at Disney.
Yeah, just go to Epcot. I mean, every pavilion with different countries, they all have incredible cocktails, beer, wine, whatever, that are very specific to those particular countries. And it's quite an experience. We did drink around the world when we were in Disney World. That was fun. So definitely a lot more like fun adult things to do in Disney World, I guess I would say.
Yeah, for sure. And so after adulting, I think one thing that people usually think of when they're trying to make their decision is just kind of the value, right? Like, so how much is it going to cost? What gives you the best bang for your buck?
Yeah.
So prices are very comparable.
Yeah.
Disney World seems to be, for a park hopper ticket, is slightly more expensive, but the thing is that you get 4 parks with that park hopper ticket compared to the 2 parks that you get at Disneyland. And so that's something to take into consideration. Food prices, when you're trying to factor that in,
pretty much the same, I think.
Pretty much the same. And then when you talk about resorts,
a lot more to pick from in Disney World. They have endless resorts.
They have what is it called?
There's value.
Deluxe, value, expensive. What's it called? I don't know. Premium. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I don't know the technical terms, but there's definitely deluxe. A good variety of like price range
for sure
for resorts.
And also, when you're talking about value, if you want to stay in park, Disney World has a lot cheaper options for resorts. But the thing is that Disneyland is very close. Like I said earlier, if you walk outside those gates, there's hotels, really nice hotels, right outside. So
all along that street.
Yeah, all along that street.
Lining the street. There's tons of hotels that are much more affordable than the 3 resorts within the park.
Yeah, and so it's, if you don't want to pay Disney prices, this is the funny thing, is that if you go to a value resort in Disney World, you could jump on a bus, spend a couple of minutes on the bus, and then get to the theme park you want to go to, right? And you're paying a lot less. Now, in Disneyland, you could pay that same price pretty much for a hotel that's right across the street. It's not Disney, but you could literally walk there in like 2 minutes and be right in the park. So even though there's not a lot of value resorts in Disneyland, I mean, you could pay for a hotel pretty cheaply. And yeah, it's a little bit further, but you can walk.
You
there
can still
5,
walk.
10 minutes. Everything is walking distance.
Yeah.
Pretty
Even
much.
if it's like a 10 or 15 minute walk, it's still walkable. Whereas Disney World parks are like a mile or more apart, usually multiple miles apart and between resorts.
Exactly.
So it's definitely somewhere that you need to have transportation. You can't walk.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess that comes into value too, right? Like you either need to pay for, or you either do the bus for free, but you have to wait.
Yeah. The line can be brutal.
Or you do a rental car. Where in Disneyland, you could just fly there, get a hotel, you could walk into it.
Exactly.
As much as you want. And then also, like, the longer you stay, the cheaper each day gets. Disneyland, you could see everything in 3-4 days, depending on if you've been there or not before. Disney World, you definitely need pretty much at least a week.
Yeah, we went for about a week.
Yeah.
And we saw a lot, but I still feel like there was so much more that we could have seen.
And even though it gets cheaper per day, yeah, you are going to be staying there longer. So it also depends on what you want to do. Do you want to spend a weekend at a Disney park, or do you want to spend like 2 weeks at a Disney park?
Exactly. And
that's very important.
If you're going to stay longer, I think one nice thing about that is that you can take a day between parks. If you're tired and you want to like chill at the resort for a day, like hang out by the pool, whatever, you can do that because you're staying longer and paying less overall for those amount of days.
Yeah.
And you can rest between and kind of enjoy the experience more because you're not just like hitting the park every single day and like wearing yourself out. So I think that's something to consider too.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. So value, pretty comparable, although when you're at Disney World, you're going to be spending a longer amount of time there. But due to the fact that it gets a little bit less per day, pretty reasonable. Convenience is our next thing we want to talk about. There's two different things. I mean, this is going to be pretty short, but
kind of a big deal still, even though there's not a lot to say. It's still kind of important things to consider about these two parks. I would say one of the more convenient things that I noticed about Disney World was the magic bands. It's the band that you wear around your wrist. Pretty much holds all of your information on it. Like where you're staying at the resort, your credit card number, like if you have a dining plan, all that information is on there. It has like everything, your fast pass, like all the most important stuff is held on this little device. Your like entrance into the park, it has everything. So you don't have to worry about keeping all your cards and everything on you because it's all right there. I love the magic band. It's super convenient. Really cool. I've always, or since going there and having that experience, I've been like, why does Disneyland not have this option? Because it's so nice to have.
And with that magic band too, like one of the coolest things was when, let's say you go into a store, you want to buy something by just tapping your wrist, right? You don't have to carry that bag all day.
Oh, yeah.
You could literally just say, send it to my room, swipe, and it will, you'll go to your room later that day, and then it'll be in your room. It's like, what?
It'll just be there waiting for you.
It's crazy. So you don't, it's a huge convenience.
Which also brings me to the point of literally when you arrive from your flight, from wherever you're coming from, into the Orlando airport, there is a Disney bus there like waiting for you. You can pretty much hop on probably all throughout the day. Like, I don't even know how often it comes, but like all the time. Yeah. And it takes you directly there. It's free. And
I think it's only, I have to look at this, but I think it's only if you're staying at the resort, right?
Probably, yeah.
Hey, if you're staying at even a cheaper value resort, they'll take you right there.
It'll still take you right there and deliver your luggage to your room.
It's awesome.
It's amazing. That was one of the items that I found to be very
super convenient
about Disney World.
And one pro, so Disneyland doesn't do all that. We don't have the magic vans. Yeah. We don't have the bus that takes you directly there.
You do have the tram.
Yeah, you have a tram.
I do love the tram. You know? That's fun.
Yeah, the tram is really nice.
And there's buses from parking lots.
Yeah, and exactly. There's even buses that will pick you up from, you know, if you're staying at a further hotel, you could just jump on the bus and get there. But the one convenience pro to Disneyland is all the parks are right next to each other. So you don't have to wait in line and then drive 10 minutes to get to another park or 10 minutes to get to your hotel, right? So literally park hopping is the easiest thing ever at Disneyland. Where like if you want to park up at Disney World, you have to wait in the line, drive 10 minutes or whatever the case may be.
Or get an Uber. We did a lot of Ubers.
But it still takes it's just still a drive, which is crazy.
Yeah, you can't
literally
just walk.
In Disneyland to California Adventure, even though there's only 2 resorts, it's
just right across.
It's like a 2-minute walk.
Yeah.
You're just like, you walk over and then you're there.
Out one gate, across the Esplanade. And
you're there, yeah.
Yeah, you're at the other one.
And so that's super nice because you could just park hop all day, go back and forth. And if you want to go back to your resort, you just go back.
Or spend time in downtown Disney. That's right there too.
Super
it's right
easy.
In the middle.
So different types of convenience.
Yeah.
So it really depends on what you're kind of looking for. I'm thinking if you have a little one, the fact that you're able to just walk to the other resort and then walk to your resort if you want, like the hotel, that's a huge plus in Disneyland.
Yeah.
But also Disney World's transportation is really good. So even though it takes a little bit longer, it is free for the most part if you don't Uber, and it'll get you there, within a few minutes. So it's
but if you have to think about like car seats and stuff, like if your babies are of car seat age, definitely think about that, because if you need to like Uber, for instance, that's not going to be an option. Really.
You have the minivan.
Yeah.
Which is another option that they have, and I think some minivans have car seats, which is nice.
Yeah.
But
so they have thought of a lot of scenarios in Disney World to make sure that they are catering to the masses.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is great. So
and then one of the last ones is resorts.
We kind of touched on it a little bit already.
Yeah. And so Disney World has a lot of different resorts, which is,
many.
They have like triple, 5 times, 10 times the amount of Disney. They have.
I don't even know how many.
Many. I don't remember the number.
It's insane.
But there's different. The cool thing is that there's different styles, right?
Yeah,
so like,
for whatever you're into, there is a Disney World resort for that.
Yeah. We stayed at a Valley Resort for part of our trip when we went. Then we also went over to Port Orleans Riverside, which was absolutely amazing because we love New Orleans style everything. So we did that, but then there's also a Polynesian resort. Floridians, and there's
beach club,
everything.
Yeah,
there's so much to do, and so resort wise, Disney
there's
World
a
is
lot
stacked.
that Disney World has to offer. Yeah,
and then also the nice thing about their resorts is that it's a place to not only just go back and just sleep or whatever. It's
there's
also
stuff
a place
to
to
do.
hang out. There's a lot of great things.
There's restaurants within those resorts. There's pools and pool bars and all kinds of activities to do at the resorts, which is so nice, especially if you have kids or whatever. It's
for sure
so nice to just go and kick back. We ended our trip just hanging out at the pool because we were wiped out after a week in the parks. We were like, okay, I think it's time to just go chill by the pool.
Yeah, at Port Orleans, it was so nice.
It was awesome. It was the way to end that trip for sure.
For sure, yeah.
So there's definitely a lot more choices in Disney World in terms of, styles and prices. So as we kind of talked about earlier, Disneyland only has 3. It's the Paradise Pier Hotel, which I'm assuming the name will change at some point because it's now Pixar Pier. And then you have the Grand Californian and the Disneyland Hotel. All of those
similar price.
All pretty similar. I think Paradise Pier is like a little bit cheaper, but the other two are pretty pricey. And they're amazing. I've only stayed in the Disneyland Hotel one time. But it was amazing. Yeah. Very, very expensive, but definitely you get all the Disney feels in those resorts. So that's all kinds of fun. But if you're looking to spend a little bit less but still be on Disney property, Disney World has more options.
Yeah, and what you said there, I think that's pretty interesting too, is that like if you were to, I mean, I haven't had an Airbnb at Disney World, but I mean, since Disney World owns so much land, I would assume that any Airbnb is a little bit further out, right? So like at Disneyland, since it's not as big and there's literally good value or good neighbor, right? It's a good neighbor.
Yeah, good neighbor.
Resort or hotels right across the street and so close to the parks. You're paying a little bit less for those, even though they're not Disney quality. You could get an Airbnb within walking distance to Disneyland Resort. So, I mean, that's one thing. If you don't want to do a hotel or like a villa or whatever at the Disney properties, and you want to go for more of a home that you could, have a kitchenette or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, make your own food.
Disneyland kind of, I think, hits that because you could literally find an Airbnb like so close,
like
within walking distance. And so that's a huge pro for people who maybe have a couple of kids who, don't want to be crammed into a room.
Yeah.
And can enjoy that home life while still being walking distance to the parks.
While not necessarily having like the Disney theming that a lot of the resorts and hotels have. It's kind of whatever's more important to you. There's convenience and like proximity to the park versus theming,
Yeah, exactly.
So
it depends on what kind of style you're feeling, for sure.
Exactly.
So to wrap this up,
we just got to talk about the rides.
Yeah.
Between each park.
And a lot of them are going to be very similar, right? I mean, Magic Kingdom and Disneyland are pretty similar. Although Disneyland itself actually has more rides than Magic Kingdom Park. Magic Kingdom's a little more spread out, so there's not as many rides. But there are some differences between the Disneyland Resort and Walt Disney World in general. Do you want to do Disneyland Resort? And
sure.
I'll do Disney World?
Yeah, so we just wanted to touch on a few rides that Disneyland has that Disney World does not.
Yeah.
So what we have, in California Adventure, there is Mission Breakout, which is the Guardians of the Galaxy ride. It used to be Tower of Terror. Yeah. You have Indiana Jones in Disneyland. You have Radiator Springs Racers in California Adventure. And obviously Matterhorn. And
this is a staple,
Yeah. And a bunch of the rides within Fantasyland in Disneyland. They're only there. They're not in Disney World.
Yeah, so Disney World doesn't have, Snow White or Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, which were classic attractions that Walt actually worked on.
The dark rides,
Yeah, the dark rides. And then also, Matterhorn, Disney also worked on as well. And it's such a staple. I think that's a huge part of Disneyland. But also, the one interesting thing here is that Disneyland has Guardians of the Galaxy, but also coming in June, we have Avengers Campus, and Disney World can't do anything with Marvel or Avengers or anything like that. I don't remember for how long, but it's still a couple years because of this deal that they have with Universal down there. So Avengers Campus will have a Spider-Man attraction that looks fun. I want to see a video of it because it kind of just looks like Midway Mania, but plussed up a little bit. But they are planning a Avengers ride that is going to be, incredible from what I've heard. And so we will have a Marvel presence in the park before Disney World does. So that's something to consider, while planning if it's, within a certain time period when Marvel will open up.
Yeah.
But in Disney World, the main attractions that we, as we're going through the list, that just really stood out to us that Disneyland doesn't have. Number one, Flight of Passage. Obviously, one of the coolest rides ever that definitely rivals Star Wars rides, which are found in both parks. So you'll get Star Wars wherever you go, which is great.
True.
Super nice that there is that kind of commonality there. You know, whatever park you decide, you still get to ride Rise of the Resistance, which is great. They also have Everest. You know, they don't have Matterhorn, but Everest is an amazing ride. Another great mountain ride. They have Snow White's Mine Train in lieu of Snow White's Scary Adventures, or what's it called? Enchanted.
Yeah, the new one.
Rose Adventures, whatever it's called now. So Mine Train is an incredible ride.
It's a little bit more exciting. It's kind of more of like a roller coaster feel.
Almost like a kid version of Thunder Mountain.
Yeah.
So that is something to take into consideration. They also, if your kids or you love Frozen, they do have a Frozen ride in Epcot, so that's
Which
a
is
huge
actually
plus.
really fun.
It is really good. Yeah, it was a reskin of an old attraction, and we enjoyed ourselves so much. So
I think we went on it twice even.
Yeah, it was really great. So
that was fun.
They also have a Toy Story Land there too,
really
which is
fun.
really, really fun. And then they have the original Tower of Terror. So if that's a big part of, you know, what you kind of want to experience, they have that there. And then they're also going to be opening the Ratatouille ride that was opened in Disneyland Paris at the Hollywood. I think it's called. Is it called Hollywood City? Their second park.
Yeah, what is it called?
So that ride will be joining Disney World and Epcot relatively soon this year. So if that's something that you want to experience, then there's, you know, this is just a way that you can take a look at those rides, maybe on YouTube, watch some things, and whatever ride you really kind of need to go on, maybe you just go to that park. Maybe that will sway your decision. So that's pretty much it. But I mean, there's a lot of other videos and a lot of other factors to take into, but hopefully this helps you guys.
We covered as much as we could.
Yeah.
We might have missed some stuff, but that was kind of the main stuff that we found to be important aspects to consider.
So hopefully that helps you guys out as you are planning your next Disney adventure. We will see you guys next week for our next episode, and hopefully maybe a little insight into the Disneyland that has been open for over a year. So that's super exciting.
Can't wait for that.
Yeah, but thank you so much for listening in. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much.
Yeah, have a great weekend.